Hello and welcome to this Echo Warpath Void Knight build guide, also known as the Blender. This is historically one of my absolute favorite builds, and it still is. It takes the spin to win playstyle and it turbocharges it by adding copies of itself as you move, which will spin in place and deal damage to any enemies that are in the area. So as you can see from the gameplay footage, it's very fast and it kills things very quickly. One thing to note, that is 0.8.5 footage, and the visual effect has changed. It's become a little bit less cluttered, so you can see a little bit more easily, but still it's still flashy. So that's going to be a little bit different. It's still a very enjoyable build to play and to watch though. All right, let's go ahead and get into what this build is and what you can expect out of it. So in 0.8.5, this build was very strong. It was relatively tanky, very fast. 0.9 has changed some things. The biggest changes are it does a lot more damage now, thanks to it being able to scale full void and not scale partial melee fizz or fizz damage, which it had to do before some of the changes to adaptive and the tag changes in Warpath. So now that's significantly better. It also has some more damage from the belt that it wears. Unfortunately, it has some negative changes on the defensive side. Specifically, the Idle Throne of Ambition is just no longer as good as it was for pure armor scaling. No matter how much armor you put on, it's just not as good as it was. And it's not even good enough really to wear in this build, so we take it out. That takes out a significant amount of HP. On top of that, Wings of Argentus has also changed. It went from 40% damage reduction to 20% damage reduction while moving, which is a massive nerf. And overall, this leads to it having about half the EHP that it used to have. So it falls more into the almost glass canny playstyle compared to what it did. But fortunately, it's a build that doesn't need to get really close to enemies and get hit a lot. So it's still very viable and still one of the better clear farm builds in the game. So it can still definitely be played. It can still be used as a league starter. It's still a pretty high tier build overall, even if it's not quite as high as it was. This is still a very strong build. So if you're into that play style, this build guide will definitely set you up for what you're looking for. Let's get into the pros and cons and go from there into the meat and potatoes of the build. So this build is immune to stuns, which is an amazing thing to have in this game. Stuns can be very frustrating, but not if you're spinning. As long as you're channeling, you cannot get stunned. It has high move speed. It can get over 100% move speed at endgame. It has great AoE and single target DPS, even better than it used to have, thanks to 0.9 changes. And it is new player disability and it's a little self-found friendly because it is a very easy build to play. You can play a one-button playstyle with about 80% efficiency. 2 buttons, you get really, really close to maximum efficiency. It is unfortunately not very tanky, as we mentioned, much less tanky than it used to be. It's not a very involved playstyle. So if you're into more mechanically intensive builds or more mechanically interesting builds, there's not a lot going on here. Unlocking crit on the build, or actually getting crit on it, does require legendary, which you won't be able to get probably for quite some time because it's a fairly high level item that gets it, although it is definitely possible to get it, and you can do it. Max efficiency does require managing sigils, so if you want to play this at its very highest level of efficiency, you will have to do some sigil management, although it's not crazy, and most of it happens early on in the Echo. All right, let's talk about the skills that we use for this build. So Warpath obviously is the star of the show. The biggest things that we need to do here are take Reckless Spin to make sure that we can channel constantly without losing mana. This is a very important node, and you have to account for it when you are gearing this because you will lose 30% elemental resistance, which can be overcome, but if you don't account for it, you're going to have a bad time. We want to take Quicksilver Wind at some point for the movement speed so we can get the higher clear. The big things that make this build go as far as a Void Knight with echoes, we need Echo Knight, which allows it to echo. We need Apocalypse Whirl, which will convert the tag over to Void and also add some Time Rot chance, which we're going to want because we also want Maw of the Deep, which will give us 15% more hit damage per Time Rot on the enemy, and that you can have up to 12 stacks of Time Rot. So that's a sizable damage difference from, not having that compared to having it. We also take Whirling Steel, which is going to give us 80% more damage because we get a double while wearing a two-handed weapon, which we of course are here. So there's a lot of damage to be had just between those two nodes. And then we finish it up with some area from both Iron Reach and Battlemaster's Blade. All right, Sigils of Hope. is a really good utility skill. In this case, it's going to give us both damage and defense, although it's going to give us probably a bit more on the damage side than the defense for this one. We're going to convert it over to Void with Sigils of Despair, which is going to convert all of the increased damage. It's going to convert all of the fire damage over to Void. We're also going to take a little bit of Ignite Chance for Active Sigil. This is going to convert to Time Rot thanks to the Warpath node Apocalypse World, which converts everything from Bleed and Ignite into Time Rot Chance. That alone with the passes will be enough to get us all the Time Rot we need to cap quickly on our Time Rot, so we get the maximum damage from this this build. We're also going to take Last Wish, which is going to make it just a lot easier for us to maintain our sigils in echoes, because kills will potentially refresh the number of sigils we have. We're going to take Iron Sigils. This has been changed to Armor, and we'll update in this by 0.9, or from Armor, excuse me, to Endurance Threshold. I consider this generally a buff because Endurance Threshold actually helps with damage over time, and we get a sizable amount of it here. So we'll actually have some more damage over time protection than we had in 0.8.5. So at least in that regard, we're a little bit tankier when it comes to dot damage. We're taking Enduring Hope and Tetragram to give us more sigils and more duration on the sigils, so that we have to cast this less often than we otherwise would. Next up, we've got Anomaly. This is a big damage buff, especially on single targets, bosses. We're going to get a lot out of this. We're going to make sure it's going to do instant cast because we don't want to leave our channel, and immediacy so that it doesn't send things forward in time when you can't hit them anymore. We definitely want Mark of Rot for the increased void damage taken. This acts as a de facto multiplier. It's not technically a multiplier because it adds with other increased void or increased damage taken, but we have very little of that in this build, so it's a very, very strong node. We're also going to take Time Bubble, which will give us a little bit more void. Actually, it shreds their void res now, so it used to do increased damage, so that's going to give us some void res stacks as well, but it's also going to allow this thing to stay up for quite a while, for us to get some attack speed on it, for us to get some CDR on it. Yeah, we just want this thing to last as long as possible. That covers Anomaly. Next up, we're going to do Volatile Reversal. Now, we're taking all the nodes in this, but the reality is you're really only going to want to use this in two scenarios. You're going to want to use this at the beginning after you've cast your sigils to get your mana back, and then you're going to potentially want to use it during boss fights to recast your sigils if you can find a safe spot, but that's going to be pretty hit or miss. You might not be able to find a safe spot most of the time. But the big thing that you're going to want out of this really is just to use it as mana. You don't really need a whole lot on here. If you do use this on enemies, you can increase the damage they take, but the reality is it's also going to slow down your echo generation because you have a cooldown on your echo generation if you leave Warpath, so we're not really going to use it for that. We will, however, take Warp Time and Catching Up so that we get more move speed and global attack speed at the beginning of an echo, so that we can kind of catch up after having to cast our sigils. We also have Shield Rush on here. This can be replaced with Lunge, depending on the fight that you're in and what your needs are. This is really good early game to get out of telegraphed attacks that you otherwise wouldn't be able to because you're not fast enough yet, especially Emperor of Corpses screen-wide AoE. So the things you really need to take in here, that the only things that matter are Dark Rush, so you can use this with a two-hander, and Rush Mastery, so that you get significant mana efficiency. This doesn't completely tank your mana when you use it. Protective Speed's really good too, just for some reduced damage taken while you're doing it. Everything else here is fluff and it's not really required. All right, that's all the skills. Let's talk about the rotation, the gameplay. Again, this is very, very easy. The nearly optimal rotation is just channel Warpath 100% of the time. If you drop Warpath, you lose a lot of things. You do not want to leave Warpath when you're actually fighting. When any enemies are around, if you leave Warpath, it's very, very dangerous because you lose the 20% DR from Wings of Argentus. Again, that used to be 40%, now it's 20, but that's still significant. Grand Patience of Hercur gives us armor while channeling. A lot of it. This is a huge buff for us. And we also use all resistance while channeling on our shoot, forgetting the name of it, on our relic. So we definitely don't want to drop this when we're around enemies. Now, when you're not around enemies, at the start of the encounter, you can use Sigils of Hope, get all your stacks up, and then use Volatile Reversal, and then rely on the node and sigils that get you procs on kill to or stacks on kill to keep it up. Anomaly, use this on any enemy that is tanky. Just hit it while hovering over them, and you get it. You're good to go. There it is. Now you have Anomaly. That is the nearly optimal rotation right there. It's pretty easy to do. If you don't want to mess with sigils, you can. If you don't want to mess with Anomaly, you can. You'll still do really well. but these are definitely big buffs. And hitting sigils at the front of the Echo is not particularly challenging to do. So for mapping, it's a very, very easy mapping build. It's super chill. You rush the objective, you channel Warpath the entire way. You only stop to pick up loot, and you only do that if there aren't enemies around. You can pick up loot while you're channeling, but it gets a little finicky, so you might have to like learn how to do that, take some time, or you can just clear everything out that's near it and then not worry about it. Use anomaly on rares and objective mini bosses to kill them quicker. Make sure to orbit tankier bosses that you're going to have to actually stay on to kill them. This is going to allow you to maintain your echoes. If you don't travel enough distance over a period of time, echoes will stop generating, so you definitely want to orbit anytime you have to stay in one spot for a period of time. But most of the echo, you won't have to stay in a spot. You can literally just run to the objective, and everything is going to die on the way because they're going to run at you and they're going to get stuck in all the echoes, so they're just going to be blended the entire time. As far as bossing goes, it's very similar. Before engaging the boss, you do your sigils of hope stacks and your vault reversal to get the mana back. Orbit the boss and just continue to try to stack echoes on them as much as you possibly can. Use anomaly when you have your echoes out so that you can increase damage on those. That'll be your big damage boost. You avoid telegraphs by changing direction when necessary, moving out and quickly moving back in as soon as possible. A very simple strategy, but it's very effective, especially if you're at 100% move speed. And do not stop channeling Warpath no matter what you do, with the only exception is if you are absolutely confident that you can cast a few sigils without getting hit, then you can do it then. But otherwise, just stay in Warpath the entire time. It's going to keep you alive a lot better than if you jump out, where you become almost guaranteed to be one shot by a boss. That is the rotation. Let us talk about passives. So there's some really good passives in here, some that are pretty much necessary. Armor Clad gets you damage reduction, which is super hard to get as a Sentinel. It's the only place in the passive tree you can get any damage reduction, so you definitely want to take that. Juggernaut, Abyssal Endurance, Defiance, Holy Symbol are all great resistance. A lot of them have a lot of health in them. They're super valuable. Definitely take those. And Doom Knight also gives you a lot of strength and health, so that's also a really nice thing. If you already have your resistances capped, you can get some armor, you get some damage, you can get some health. Echoing Strikes, Time Legion, Avatar of Regret are all necessary to get maximum echo uptime. You definitely need to take these. World Eater is going to give you all of the sustain that you need. Just this one thing, max it out. You'll have enough leech to handle everything. Singular Purpose is a really good damage buff that reduces your block chance, but you don't block anyway because you're not wearing a shield, so you don't care. So this is a great 100% increased void damage for 4 points. It's amazing. Eternal Form, Vitality is really good. You definitely want that, and the increased health on is even better. So this is definitely absolutely need this for your EHP. And then Void Corruption gives you a lot of crit multi for almost no investment. It's literally 1 point, and there you go. You have it. That's going to give you 63% crit multi. Definitely take that. All right, on to gear. So here are your stat goals: capped resistance, capped critical strike avoidance, capped endurance, 25 to 4,000 health, try to get as high as you can. 50 to 65% armor mitigation. Should be relatively reasonable to do this if you get the blessing that gives you armor while channeling. 30 plus strength, 150 plus chance to shred armor, 300% crit strike multi plus. That doesn't include the 100% you get to start with. 400 to 600% increased damage, and 70 to 110% movement speed, not including haste. So if you have haste, you can get up to like 130% move speed if you really cap this thing out. For your starting gear, you're mostly focused on health. That's health and your resistances. Get some all resist while channeling for sure. Make sure you have that. If you can pick up some plus to Warpath, great. But you're really just trying to get your health up. Your resistance is capped. Get your frailty. If you can pick up a Siphon of Anguish, which you should be able to do very easily by just killing a Shade and regular monos, definitely get that. It's extra leech. It's extra move speed. It's extra elemental resistance. And Doom actually gives you increased damage. So try to pick one of those up. And if you can manage to get a Quicksilver Coil, wear that, because it's going to give you a chance to gain haste, and it's going to be almost 100% uptime, so you're 30% faster. That's going to be a big buff to your clear speed. As far as advanced gear goes, it's very similar to the last one, except now we're going to put on Dark Stride and we're going to put on Apathy's Maw. Apathy's Maw gives us a massive amount of melee void. It gives us more Doom chance to hit, so we'll have maximum uptime on that. And that much melee void damage synergizes so well with Dark Stride. Dark Stride is going to give you 0.2% increased movement speed per added melee void damage. This is how we get to 100+% move speed, by wearing this and just stacking our melee void damage as high as we possibly can. It also gives itself some melee void damage, and it gives increased void damage. This is a really good offensive thing, and speed is just a great item that really makes the Warpath build literally go. So you're gonna want to get this as soon as you can, and add map these mod. The rest of it, you're just pushing up your fixes as high as you possibly can, trying to get them just get them as far up as you can get. And of course, make sure you're paying attention to your blessings as well. We'll cover those in the next section, but you're going to want to push those as well. Excuse me, your idols and your blessings. Also, you're starting to work at this point on getting your grand idol, or excuse me, your grand blessings. I don't know why I'm confusing those two so much. Your grand blessings, which we'll talk about in the next section as well. As far as end game gear, now you're starting to push to the really good stuff. You want to get your Wings of Argentus at this point for your 20% less damage taken while moving. Ignore that says 40%. This hasn't been updated yet. It's going to be 20%. You also gain haste from this on hit, so you can drop the Quicksilver Coil for more crit chance, more health, more endurance, pretty much more strength. Anything that you can manage to fit here. This is the ideal stuff, but you really want to just, you know, get more damage, get more survivability here. Cap your endurance, you know, tier 5 health, you can get it, all that stuff. Try to get yourself an exalted all res while channeling. The higher the better. That's going to make gearing this thing so much easier at that point. This is a absolute must suffix. You want to get this as much as you can. Start to push your crit chance at this point only if you can get melee crit chance on your Apathy's Maw at this point. If you don't have melee crit chance in your Apathy's Maw, you don't push crit. If you really want to push crit though, you can by just switching this out for a crafted crafted two-hander. I'm trying to remember the sword off the top of my head. There's a particular sword that would be really good for this. I apparently don't have it on here. There's a melee void sword. Get that, add a melee crit to it, and use that. And then you can scale your crit. You'll be slower, but you should be able to push your damage higher if you get enough crit than you can with a non-legendary Apathy's Maw. If you do get that though, if you get the Apathy's Maw with a added crit, you are absolutely good to go. You are really rocking. If you can get plus anomaly, that's really great too. It gives the void damage and it gives you some extra buffs from anomaly, so try to push that. Increased health, very high priority here because it's going to be hard to get. You can't put it on wings because you're not going to get a 1 LP, just good luck. And you're going to prioritize cleanse here on Shattered Chains, so you won't have increased health there. And of course you don't even have your hybrid health here, so we're trying to get health anywhere we can, as much as we can. Bis, now things get crazy. If you get this to this point, you just have an absolute insane build. Tier 7 all res while channeling. You're going to start to get your legendary dark strides with move speed and hybrid health. Get increased health on your Shattered Chains. If you can manage to get an LP version of Wings, you can put either Warpath or increased health on it. Just depends on what you want. I'd go for Warpath, go for more damage, because why not? And the +4 is just amazing. You can increase the area of it tremendously. But increased health will obviously make you more survivable. If you manage to get a 2 LP on your Apathy's Maw, make sure to exalt the melee crit chance, and then if you can get a tier 5 melee void damage on it, all the better. Put your increased health as high as you can. Get your crit chance capped. And also, by the way, make sure you get some shred on your gloves. You're going to really want that. And you can fit in on an Okirian here if everything works out. If you get some crit strike chance on it and you can get some of this other stuff, it's 10% increased damage. It's also the only way you can really get chill on this build. Like realistically, it's the only source of chill. So this is actually a significant buff. Shock gives you more CC because you're going to stun more, and chill of course gives you a lot more CC as well because enemies are going to be slower and attack less quickly. So this is a really good BIS item if you can get the LP on it and make everything else in the build work out. But good luck, it's going to take you a long time to do it. All right, that's everything for that. For the gear section, let's talk about the blessings. So remember, normal blessings don't matter. These are all just some good options if they happen to pop up when you kill a boss, but do not farm these. So shred void, great. Health's really good. Void damage, your resistances are great. Crit avoidance is great. More leech for your melee is really great. But again, just take these if you see them. Do not farm normal at all. Push to empowered because you're gonna replace everything with empowered anyway. So for empowered, start with Grand Survival of Might if you're not crit avoidance capped, which you're probably not at this point. You wear that with, actually this Alarm Helmet's probably not gonna fly. We're gonna probably just have to switch this with a suffix, but we'll see once 0.9 drops. But one way or the other, it'll be either a suffix or it'll be what do you call it, an implicit that you wear with this blessing, and now your crit avoidance capture good to go. Grand Patience of Her is awesome, super good for getting yourself some DR. The armor world channel, it's just a massive amount of armor, and it scales so well with strength that we're just gonna really benefit from it. So make sure to get that. But Grand Warlock of the Tundra will also push up your Grand Patience of Her and your other armor, so this is really good as well. Grand Depths of Affinity is going to be a big damage boost for you once you can get it. Prioritize the defenses first, but once you get to this, try to get a well-rolled version of this, and it's going to be a significant damage boost. 20% more damage on bosses and 50%, up to 50% more on non-bosses. Grand Crash of Waves can increase your stun chance, will just help you with CC. Things that can't hit you, that are just getting hit, obviously that's ideal, especially with a build that's a little bit on the glass candy side. So we'll finish up with that one. As far as empowered, or excuse me, on drop rate blessings, we want increased Grand Idol rate, because we're going to be running a lot of Grand Idols in this, or a number of them at least. We want Grand Slumber of Mortis for relic drop rates, because we want to push our fixes for all res while channeling. At some point you're going to get exalted, and at that point you don't need this anymore, and you can switch that with something else. But there's honestly not a whole lot of valuable stuff here. But before, if you don't have this up to exalted already, you can definitely run this blessing. Grand Favor of the Wangari is going to give you 2-handed axe drop rate, which is going to help you get exalted for your Apathy's Maw to make it to a legendary. Grand Hope of the Beginning and Grand Comfort of the End are pretty minor. You can get these if you want to, but you can really skip these if you don't care about them that much, which they're really not that important. As far as idols, we're going to run 3 Grand Idols with Warpath area, and we're going to put either armor, shred armor on hit, or increased melee void damage. These are all really valuable. Armor obviously is going to give you more defense, which this build can always use. And then shred and melee void damage are just going to really help with your damage. If you don't have any shred on your gear, definitely make sure to put it on your idols. You're going to want at least about 150% shred, and if you get that, you're going to be golden. You're going to do so much more damage. As far as stout idols, we're going to go with double health, or we're going to go with health and resistance, depending on what you need. In this particular case, we have cold resistance on these, and a couple of double healths as well. And then our Ligonian idols will be extra armor and whatever resistances you need. In this case, they're fire and lightning, but it'll just depend on your gear. All right. There's other useful idol fixes too. If you get these and you don't have the other stuff, then feel free to put these on. As far as build scaling goes, let's talk about damage. Melee void damage is a huge boost to this build, obviously on the damage side, but it's also going to increase our movement speed. So we're definitely going to want to scale this as high as we possibly can. We want to try to get our crit chance capped if we've got a legendary Apathy's Maw with melee crit strike chance, or if we're wearing something that's not an Apathy's Maw that has added crit chance. Then we're going to try to cap it. Otherwise, we're going to ignore this stat. It's not going to be valuable. Crit multiplier, we're going to get most of it from Void Corruption. We're going to get about 68% crit multi, but anywhere else we can put like on a relic is also really good. Melee attack speed, we don't really have any place for it on our gear, but that's okay because we're going to get a lot of it from Blade Master and from Time Legion. So that will help us to still attack pretty quickly. Strength is really good for this build because we want to scale our armor, and of course we're going to scale our damage, so we're going to try to get as much of that as we can as well. Sigils is also going to give us a lot of increased damage, and Ignite Chance is going to turn into Time Rot, so make sure you maintain your stacks of sigils as much as possible. Sometimes it's not, but as much as it is. Anything that increases your void damage is going to be welcome to build. Shred armor, make sure to get to up to 150% or so chance to shred, and you're going to really see your damage be ramped up if you do that. It's going to be very worth it. And Anomaly is going to give you a huge boost anytime you use it. So if you get level of Anomaly, it's going to give you increased void damage plus some extra points to put into Anomaly. Grand Depths of Infinity is that shred blessing. You're going to really want that because it's just a big multiplier. Definitely want that. We don't really have any sources of pen or shred elsewhere, so this is a straight up multiplier because anything it would be additive with doesn't exist in this build. All right, defenses. Armor Clad, make sure you get that. That's the one that gives you damage reduction to nearby enemies. Endurance is just a great one-shot protector and also dot protector, and since we're getting extra endurance threshold from Sigils of Hope, this is all the more valuable, so definitely get to cap on your endurance. Strength, we talked about that already on the damage side. It still applies here for the armor. Armor mitigation, Grand Patience of Her, hugely beneficial. The Sigils armor is no longer there, so I'll remove this. There's now endurance. I'll switch it over to that, so ignore that for now. All resistance while channeling, huge. Gotta have this. If you're going to be able to build this properly, you need to be able to get a lot of resistances from that one affix. So get that as high as you possibly can. Wear a tier 7 all res with like not perfect stats elsewhere over something that's got really good stats with the tier 5. It's so much worth it. As far as health, we're going to try to stack as much as we can. We can surpass 4,000 health if we stack it really well. Definitely push that. Leech, World Eater covers that. That's all you need. Just get your World Eater up, Captain, you're good to go. And if Chill is really hard to get, it's just there's nowhere anywhere to put it. You'd put it on a weapon, but there's no space for it. Okirin is our only really option here. However, it's going to be more of a best in slot when everything else lines up. You're probably not going to get to that unless you play this for hundreds of hours. Frailty, every build has it. Every build wants it. Every build practically needs it. This build's no different. And Ward and Amulet Cleansing, if we can get that on our belt, it's going to be a big difference when we're fighting in high dot areas because it's the only way to cleanse that stuff off. All right, last section is the recommended endgame activities. This is a very, very good Monolith of Fate farmer, not Faith, Monolith of Fate farmer. So it's ideal. This is where it wants to be. It wants to be in Monolith of Fate. It also likes the arena. Those are the two places it's going to do the best. So if you're trying to farm in the Monolith of Fate, this is a great build for that. As far as dungeons go, the lack of EHP on this is going to make it kind of hard to kill some of these tier 4 bosses. It still can do them all. You're going to have to play real well, though. It's not going to be easy. You can make it a lot easier, though, for you if you know the fights and can use Rebuke before a big attack happens, because Rebuke can basically let you tank it. So that is an option to make this easier on you. Otherwise, you're just going to have to really know the fight, and in some cases get a little bit lucky. It does not like Soulfire Bastion because it doesn't have a good iframe ability. It can do Soulfire Bastion, but it's gonna be rough, so just bear that in mind. Fortunately, Soulfire Bastion nobody does right now for the most part, with one exception. There's one farming strategy for it, but it's not necessary. Arena, it's really good at Arena. It's gonna have more damage than it did last patch, but less defense. How that plays out in high level arenas, hard to say. Depends on how good you are at not getting hit. But the ability to kite using echoes is very strong. So this can do really well in the arena. We'll just have to see how the changes play out for like its top end. Before it was like maybe it could push like very high hundreds of waves, but we just don't know now because of these changes are so significant. Either way, it's going to do well. So if you want to play the arena with this, you absolutely can. All right, that covers everything. There will be a loot filter in here. It will be ready to go. You just download it. And also, if you need to know how to load it into your own loot filter, we have the loot filter guide. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great time with this build if you decide to use it. Have a great time in Last Epoch, and I'll see you all again real soon.